What's up? Let me fix this shit. It's a little bit more in the center. The center. I perhaps watched one of the most retarded things I've ever seen in my entire life. And obviously I'm a little late on this since it was made in 2006, but it was what is titled a debate between the Loose Change guys and some people from Popular Mechanics magazine. And I'll link the first part of this video to you right now. I've talked about 9/11 conspiracy theorists before, but you know what I've just realized is an interesting connection. These 9/11 conspiracy theorists seem to be very similar in a lot of ways to religious people. When presented with a fact, they simply choose to ignore it, or they make up something else, or they move on to something else. It becomes a conspiracy of the gaps rather than a god of the gaps, if you know what I'm talking about. It's really interesting because I never thought of it that way, and I don't know why before. Listen. And the interesting thing, too, is I thought for a while that these Loose Change guys were doing this just to make money. But the way they talk, they really believe what they're saying. Just like a lot of religious people do. A lot of them are full of shit. I think the Zeitgeist guy is full of shit because his shit, he made a lot of money off that. The Loose Change people made a lot of money too, but they offer their movie for free on their website. But they really seem to believe what they're saying. And it makes it slightly harder for me to hate them the way I do because they're so wrong. And they're such assholes about it too. They're laughing, and they start out the interview by saying that Popular Mechanics is a Hearst newspaper, it's yellow journalism, and it's behind the whole plot. Yeah, Popular Mechanics is in cahoots with George W. Bush to, cover up 9/11 or something like that. Which is it's a ridiculous statement, but they don't even notice how crazy of a fucking thing that is to say. And the people in the comments section are actually accusing the people who are against the Loose Change people of being paid by the government to come and post pro Popular Mechanics comments. And they don't see how fucking crazy that is. That's very similar to the way that religious people work. It's weird. They have unfounded beliefs. God damn it. And they don't need evidence for them to believe it. One of the main things that runs through the 9/11 conspiracy theorists is the belief, this delusional belief in the ultra competent government. The idea that the United States government was on alert at all times and had a bunch of fighter craft flying around at all times and were ready to shoot down passenger aircraft, which just isn't true. We were not set up to do shit like that. Now, during the Cold War, we certainly had a lot of planes ready and flying around, but the Cold War isn't going on anymore. Those planes, there was only, I think, 14 fighters on alert in the entire, northern United States, which I think is a mistake. But that's just the way it is. So they have this belief that that the government is some ultra competent super being, which is just the same belief that Christians have about, God, that there's some ultra confident being, ultra powerful being up there that controls everything. And that's what these people think about the government. I think the government's fucked up, but it's not some super being that's out there to control your lives. There's no... One of the things, TJ put it one way that I liked, these people want to believe that they are special. They want to believe that they live in a world that doesn't exist, a dream world, where there's this super powerful group of people that give a shit enough about them to care about their lives or what they think or what they're doing. And that's just not the way it is. That's the exact same thing that religious people think about God. They want to believe that there's a God up there who cares about them and cares about what they're doing, just like the conspiracy theorists want to believe that there's a group of super powerful people up there that cares about what they're doing. And they will go to any lengths and ignore any evidence to continue to believe this. And it's astounding. And it should be treated in the same way by logical people as fucking retarded. There is no evidence for it. It's just really strange. And just like Christians will come on and people will pretend to be doctors, or they'll pretend to know something about evolution, and they'll say, well, this doesn't make the blah, 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 when in reality they don't have any expertise. Just like these loose change people. They don't have any expertise in construction or demolition or any of this other shit, aviation, and all the other shit that they talk about. They do no fact-checking, and they just put a bunch of shit together that makes sense in their head, and they throw it out there, and people believe it. Listen, conspiracy theory people, and I know there's still some of them that watch my videos, even though I got rid of a bunch when I made my original conspiracy theory video. Listen, I understand where you're coming from, okay? You want to believe that there's a bigger reason for the things that go on in the world, that there's some purpose, that someone besides just some angry Arabs did this, because it was a traumatic event. It was fucked up. I was only in 7th grade in the time, but I remember how fucked up it was. I remember how people felt, all right? It was a traumatic experience for all Americans, and I understand how you feel about that. But the reality is that the world just isn't it isn't that simple, and at the same time it isn't that complicated. Okay? There is no great power out there to control you. Sure, there's rich people, and sure they have disproportionate amount of power, but they're not there controlling world events and staging terrorism. Okay? This is illogical. Almost every single claim that I've ever heard from the 9/11 truth people is easily, debunked. And a lot of their beliefs, I'm sorry, just are silly. And a lot of the things that they claim as evidence, if you think about it for even a second, don't make any sense. Like the Pentagon. The way these people want it to be is they make it sound like there should be, like in a cartoon, like an airplane-shaped hole in the side of the building, right? It doesn't fucking work that way, okay? It's just fucking silly. But I understand where you're coming from, but you need to sit down and do some research. These kids aren't experts. And in order to believe that the popular mechanics people or the thousands of other independent scientists and researchers that have concluded with that this was a terrorist attack and that there wasn't explosions or whatever, all these people you would have to believe are in on the plot. Think about that for a second. All right, 30 seconds starting now.